I'll never forget that rainy night, standing on the steps of my mom's $5 million mansion, my clothes soaked, a beat-up suitcase in one hand and $200 in my pocket, the last of my cash. She slammed the door in my face, her voice cold as steel. "You're not my son anymore." My own mother, the woman who'd raised me, had just kicked me out, cut me off, and left me with nothing but a burning need to prove her wrong. That moment broke me, but it also built me, setting me on a path to buy that same mansion years later and evict her without a word. My name's Noah, and this is my story, a raw, real journey from betrayal to triumph, one that'll hit home if you've ever been told you're not enough. Let's get into it. I was 24 when it happened, living in Los Angeles, a city that sparkles with dreams but chews up anyone who stumbles. I'd grown up in that mansion, a sprawling Mediterranean-style estate in Brentwood, 6 bedrooms, a pool, marble floors that echoed with every step. It wasn't mine, though. It was my mom's, Diane, a real estate tycoon who'd built a fortune flipping luxury properties. She was a force, sharp, glamorous, the kind of woman who could sell a $10 million home with a smile and a handshake. But at home, she was different, demanding, critical, always measuring me against her impossible standards. "You're a Bennett," she'd say, her eyes narrowing. "Act like it." To her, that meant Ivy League degrees, corner offices, or at least a trust fund kid who didn't embarrass her at gala dinners. I was never that kid. I was artsy, restless, more into sketching designs and binge-watching startup pitches on YouTube than chasing her version of success. I'd flunked out of UCLA my sophomore year, too busy partying and dreaming up business ideas to study. Mom didn't take it well. "You're wasting your potential," she'd snap, her voice like a whip. My older sister, Lauren, was her golden child, Stanford grad, now a lawyer at a top firm, engaged to a hedge fund guy. Lauren could do no wrong, while I was the screw-up, the one who didn't fit the Bennett brand. Dad wasn't around. He'd split when I was 5, leaving Mom to raise us with her iron grip and a bank account that made problems disappear. Our relationship wasn't always bad. When I was little, Mom would sneak me ice cream after bedtime, laughing as we whispered about silly things. But as I got older, those moments faded, replaced by her lectures about legacy and responsibility. By my early 20s, we were oil and water. I'd moved back into the mansion after college, trying to figure out my next step, but it was her house, her rules. She'd criticize my late nights, my pointless sketches, my lack of a real job. I was working, freelance graphic design, pulling in $1,000 a month, but to her, it was pocket change, proof I was failing. "Why can't you be like Lauren?" she'd say, her words cutting deeper each time. "Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, it's never enough for the people who matter most?" That was my life, every damn day. The breaking point came on a stormy November night. I'd been pitching a business idea to Mom, a subscription box for eco-friendly home goods, targeted at millennials. I'd spent weeks on a business plan, crunching numbers, even landing a call with a small investor. I was excited, thinking she'd finally see me as more than a disappointment. We were in her office, a sleek room with floor-to-ceiling windows, rain pounding outside. I laid out my plan, my voice shaky but hopeful. She listened, her face unreadable, then leaned back in her chair. "Noah," she said, her tone ice cold, "this is a fantasy. You're not cut out for business. You're not cut out for this family." I froze, my pitch deck trembling in my hands. "What are you saying?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She stood, her heels clicking on the marble. "I'm saying you're a liability," she said. "You're 24, living off my money, embarrassing me with your half-baked ideas. I'm done." I tried to argue, but she cut me off. "Pack your things. You're out by midnight." I laughed, thinking she was bluffing, but her eyes were dead serious. "You can't just kick me out," I said, my heart racing. She didn't flinch. "This is my house. I can do whatever I want. You're not my son anymore." The words hit like a sledgehammer. I stood there, rain drumming on the windows, my world collapsing. She walked out, leaving me alone with my scattered papers. I stumbled to my room, numb, shoving clothes into a suitcase. Lauren was there, her face soft but useless. "Noah, just apologize," she said, her voice pleading. "She'll forgive you." I shook my head, tears burning. "She doesn't want me," I said, zipping the bag. I grabbed my wallet, $200 all I had, and walked to the front door. Mom was in the foyer, her arms crossed, her face a mask. I looked at her, hoping for a crack, a hint of regret, but she just opened the door, the rain pouring beyond. "Go," she said. I stepped out, and the door slammed, the sound echoing like a gunshot. I stood on the steps, soaked to the bone, my suitcase sagging in the rain. The mansion loomed behind me, its lights warm but untouchable. I'd grown up there, laughed there, dreamed there, and now I was nothing, a stranger in my own life. The betrayal wasn't just being kicked out, it was her words, "Not my son," cutting deeper than any door slam. I wanted to scream, to bang on the door, but what was the point? She'd made her choice, and it wasn't me. I walked to my car, a 10-year-old Toyota, and drove into the night, no plan, no home, just $200 and a fire in my chest I didn't understand yet. I ended up at a cheap motel in East LA, the kind with flickering neon signs and stains on the carpet. I paid $60 for a night, my hands shaking as I counted the bills. Lying on the lumpy bed, rain still dripping from my hair, I felt the weight of it all, anger, shame, fear. I could have called Lauren or a friend, but pride stopped me. I wasn't going to beg, not after Mom had thrown me away like trash. Instead, I opened my laptop, the only thing I'd saved besides clothes, and pulled up my business plan. It was rough, mocked by Mom, but it was mine. "You're not cut out for business," she'd said. I stared at the screen, my jaw tight. "Watch me," I whispered to the empty room. The next morning, I started over. I had $140 left, no job and a suitcase of clothes, but I had something else. A need to prove her wrong, to show her I wasn't the failure she saw. I moved into a shared apartment in Koreatown, a 10 by 10 room for $500 a month, splitting rent with 2 strangers. I kept freelancing, taking every graphic design gig I could find, logos, websites, anything to pay the bills. It was brutal, 16-hour days hunched over my laptop, surviving on ramen and coffee, but every dollar felt like a step away from that rainy night. I'd lie awake, the city's hum outside my window, replaying Mom's words, her door slam, Lauren's useless pity. It hurt, but it fueled me, a quiet vow growing. I'd build something bigger than her mansion, something she couldn't take away. I didn't know how I'd get there, but I knew one thing, I wasn't going back. Mom thought she'd broken me, but she'd only lit a match. I was going to take my life back, piece by piece, and one day, I'd make her see what she'd thrown away. That mansion, her pride and joy, was the key. I didn't know it yet, but it was already in my sights, a goal so crazy it felt like destiny. 3 months after my mom kicked me out of her $5 million Brentwood mansion, I was living in a 10-square-foot room in Koreatown, working 2 jobs just to cover rent and keep the lights on. The memory of that rainy night, her slamming the door, saying, "You're not my son anymore," was like a splinter I couldn't pull out. It hurt, but it drove me, pushing me to hustle harder than I ever thought I could. I wasn't just fighting for money, I was fighting to prove I wasn't the failure she saw, to take back my life on my terms. My name's Noah, and this is the part of my story where I claw my way up from nothing, find a game-changing mentor, and hatch a plan so bold it scared me, to buy that same mansion and make my mom face the son she threw away. Let's dive back in. I was still in Los Angeles, the city's glitz a cruel reminder of the life I'd lost. My new reality was a far cry from the mansion's marble floors. My Koreatown room had peeling paint, a shared bathroom, and a mattress I'd bought off Craigslist for $50. Rent was $500 a month, and with my freelance graphic design gigs pulling in $1,200 on a good month, I was barely scraping by. I picked up a second job as a barista in Silver Lake, working 5 a.m. shifts to pay for groceries and gas. My days were a blur, designing logos until midnight, steaming lattes at dawn, catching naps in my car between gigs. I was exhausted, my eyes bloodshot, my bank account hovering near zero, but giving up wasn't an option. Have you ever been so broke you counted every penny? but so determined it felt like fire in your veins? That was me, every single day. The hardest part wasn't the grind. It was the loneliness. I'd cut contact with my family after that night. My sister, Lauren, texted a few times, saying, "Mom's just stressed, come home," but I ignored her. Home wasn't a place anymore, it was a wound. Friends drifted away, too busy for my drama, and I didn't have the energy to chase them. My old life, parties, UCLA buddies, even my sketches, felt like someone else's memory. I'd stare at my business plan for the eco-friendly subscription box, the one Mom had mocked, and wonder if she was right. Was I chasing a fantasy? But then I'd remember her voice, "You're a liability," and my jaw would tighten. I wasn't doing this for her approval, I was doing it to prove I could. The first year was a slog. Freelancing was inconsistent. Some months I'd land a $500 website job, others I'd get nothing, forcing me to skip meals or dodge my landlord. The barista gig paid $12 an hour, barely enough for rent and my $30 phone bill. I taught myself to budget like a monk, cutting out everything but essentials. No Netflix, no beers, no new clothes. My Toyota was on its last legs, guzzling gas, but I couldn't afford to fix it. I'd drive to client meetings praying it wouldn't die, my portfolio on a cracked laptop, pitching to small businesses who often ghosted me. Rejection stung, but it wasn't new. Mom's rejection was worse, and I'd survived that. The turning point came in early 2024, about 6 months after I'd been kicked out. I was at a startup meetup in downtown LA, a free event I'd found on Eventbrite, hoping to network. I was out of my depth, tech bros in hoodies pitching AI apps, VCs in loafers sipping kombucha, but I went anyway, my business plan printed on cheap paper, my suit borrowed from a roommate. That's where I met Carla, a 40-something entrepreneur who'd sold her e-commerce brand for $10 million. She was speaking on a panel, her vibe no nonsense but warm, talking about finding your niche and scaling smart. I cornered her after, nervous, and pitched my subscription box idea, EcoNest, curated sustainable home goods for millennials, $50 a month. I expected a polite brush-off, but she listened, her eyes sharp. "That's not bad," Carla said, handing me her card. "But it's raw. Meet me tomorrow and bring numbers." I barely slept, pulling an all-nighter to refine my plan. Market research from Google, revenue projections, even a mock-up logo I designed in Canva. We met at a coffee shop in Venice, and she tore into my plan like a drill sergeant, pointing out weak margins and a crowded market. But then she leaned forward. "You've got hustle," she said. "I'll mentor you, but you gotta commit." I nodded, my heart pounding. Carla was my lifeline, the first person since Mom who believed I could build something real. Under Carla's guidance, I relaunched EcoNest. She introduced me to suppliers in Oakland who offered sustainable products at wholesale, bamboo utensils, recycled glassware, organic candles. I built a bare-bones website using Shopify, sinking $1,000 of my savings into inventory and ads. Carla taught me to target Instagram, where eco-conscious millennials hung out, using Reels to show product unboxings. My first month, I sold 50 boxes, netting $1,500 after costs. It wasn't millions, but it was proof I wasn't crazy. I quit the barista job, pouring every hour into EcoNest while keeping up freelance gigs. By month 6, I was selling 200 boxes a month, clearing $5,000 in profit, enough to move to a studio apartment in Echo Park, still small, but mine. The money was one thing, the confidence was another. Carla pushed me to think bigger, introducing me to her network, angel investors, marketers, even a CPA named Raj who helped me set up an LLC. EcoNest grew steadily, hitting $20,000 a month by year 2, with 1,000 subscribers and a small warehouse in Vernon. I hired a part-time packer, a college kid named Jaden, and reinvested profits into better products and Google Ads. Carla's mantra, "Cash flow is king," kept me disciplined, saving 30% of every dollar for taxes and growth. By 2026, EcoNest was valued at $2 million by a VC firm, and I'd saved $500,000, my net worth climbing to $1.5 million with investments in index funds Raj recommended. I wasn't Mom's level of rich, but I was a long way from that motel. Even as EcoNest took off, Mom's betrayal haunted me. I'd blocked her number, but Lauren's updates slipped through. Mom was struggling, her real estate empire hit by a market downturn, the mansion's mortgage a growing burden. I didn't gloat, but I didn't feel sorry either. She'd made her bed, and I was done lying in it. I started tracking the mansion on Zillow, a habit that felt obsessive but right. It was still listed at $5 million, but whispers of foreclosure circled. Mom's deals were tanking, her investors pulling out. The idea hit me like a lightning bolt. What if I bought it? Not to live in, but to own it, to take the one thing she valued most. It was crazy, impossible, but it took root, a seed of revenge I couldn't shake. I didn't tell Carla at first, she'd call it reckless, but I started planning. Raj ran the numbers. I'd need $3 million for a down payment and financing for the rest, assuming the price didn't drop. My savings were short, but EcoNest was growing, and I was pitching to VCs for a $5 million round to expand into retail. If I landed it, I'd have the cash. I also hired a real estate agent, Maria, to monitor the mansion discreetly, posing as a buyer to get updates without tipping off Mom. Maria reported cracks, unpaid property taxes, a second mortgage Mom had taken out. "It's vulnerable," Maria said, her voice low. "If you move fast, it's yours." I nodded, my pulse racing. This wasn't just business, it was personal. The emotional weight was heavier than I expected. Success didn't erase the hurt. Every milestone reminded me of Mom's voice. "You're not cut out for this." I started therapy, not to forgive her but to understand why I was so driven by her rejection. My therapist, Dr. Lee, called it proving behavior. "You're building an empire to silence her," he said. "What happens when you do?" I didn't know, but I couldn't stop. Late nights, I'd scroll through old photos, me and Mom at my 10th birthday, her smiling, and feel a pang. I hated her, but I missed her, and that contradiction tore me up. Carla noticed my stress, pulling me aside after a meeting. "You're killing it, Noah," she said, "but you're carrying something heavy. Let it go." I smiled, but I wasn't ready. The mansion was my finish line, and I was sprinting toward it. I kept my success quiet, avoiding LA's social scene to stay under Mom's radar. Lauren mentioned Mom asking about me once, wondering if I was still wasting time, and I laughed bitterly. She'd find out soon enough. I worked 18-hour days, scaling EcoNest to 3,000 subscribers, landing a deal with Whole Foods for a limited edition box. My bank account grew, but so did the pressure. VCs wanted equity, suppliers missed deadlines, and Jaden quit for a better job. I leaned on Carla and Raj, but the real fight was inside me, balancing ambition with the ghosts of that rainy night. Visual cue. Imagine a montage of Noah at work, typing furiously, shaking hands with VCs, staring at the mansion's Zillow page, his eyes burning with purpose. As 2027 approached, the mansion's price dropped to $4.8 million, a sign Mom was desperate. Maria confirmed it was headed for auction if Mom couldn't pay the mortgage. I was close. My VC pitch was days away, and if it landed, I'd have the funds to buy outright. I didn't know what I'd do when I owned it, but the idea of holding those keys, of facing Mom on my terms, kept me awake, a mix of dread and thrill. She thought she'd erased me, but I was coming back, stronger, richer, and ready to rewrite our story. The mansion wasn't just a house. It was proof I was more than the son she'd thrown away. When my limousine pulled up to the gates of my mom's $5 million Brentwood mansion, the one she'd banned me from 4 years ago, nobody in my family recognized me, not until I stepped out, keys in hand, the new owner ready to take back what she'd stolen, my dignity. That rainy night when she slammed the door, calling me not her son, had fueled a relentless climb, turning my eco-friendly startup, EcoNest, into a $10 million empire. Now, I was here to evict her, to make her feel the weight of her rejection in a moment she'd never forget. My name's Noah, and this is the end of my story, where I face my family, rewrite our past, and learn what it really means to stand on your own. If you've ever been pushed out by the people you loved, this is where it all comes together. So let's jump in. It was spring 2027, and Los Angeles was blooming, the city's golden light a stark contrast to the storm inside me. EcoNest was thriving, 5,000 subscribers, $500,000 monthly revenue, a Whole Foods deal, and a $5 million VC round I'd closed weeks earlier. My net worth was $8 million, with $3 million liquid after smart investments, enough to buy the mansion outright when its price dropped to $4.5 million amid Mom's financial spiral. I'd worked with my real estate agent, Maria, to make the purchase through a shell company, keeping my name off the paperwork until the deed was mine. The mansion, 6 bedrooms, pool, marble floors, was no longer Mom's castle. It was my victory, a symbol of everything I'd built despite her. The eviction was planned with precision. I knew Mom was hosting a family brunch, a desperate attempt to keep up appearances as her real estate empire crumbled. Lauren had texted me about it, begging me to reconnect, but I'd ignored her, my focus on this moment. Maria had served Mom the eviction notice days earlier, citing new ownership, but Mom, arrogant as ever, thought it was a clerical error, refusing to leave. I'd hired a lawyer, Emma, to ensure the process was legal. California's tenant laws were tricky, but Mom's unpaid taxes and defaulted mortgage gave me leverage. I also arranged for a sheriff's deputy, Officer Ramirez, to enforce the eviction, plus a moving crew to clear her belongings. It wasn't just about winning, it was about doing it right. I arrived at 11 a.m., my limousine, rented for the drama, gliding through Brentwood's quiet streets. The mansion's iron gates were open, the driveway lined with cars. Lauren's BMW, my uncle's Mercedes, a few I didn't recognize. I stepped out, my tailored suit crisp, the deed and keys in my pocket, my heart pounding but steady. Officer Ramirez and the movers waited nearby, their van discreetly parked. I walked to the front door, the same one Mom had slammed, and rang the bell, the chime echoing like a warning. Visual cue. Picture the mansion's facade, its white walls gleaming, Noah's silhouette sharp against the morning sun, the keys glinting as he pulls them out. Lauren answered, her face confused, then shocked. "Noah?" she gasped, her eyes wide. "What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, Mom appeared behind her, her designer dress impeccable but her eyes tired, the strain of her failing business etched deep. "What is this?" she snapped, her voice sharp but shaky. I looked at her, the woman who disowned me, and felt a strange calm. "I'm the new owner," I said, holding up the deed, my voice steady. "This is my house now, and you're trespassing." The foyer went silent, Lauren's hand flying to her mouth, my uncle and cousins peering from the dining room, their brunch forgotten. Mom laughed, a brittle sound. "This is absurd," she said, crossing her arms. "You couldn't afford a condo, let alone this." I didn't flinch, pulling out the keys and dangling them. "I paid $4.5 million, cash," I said. "Your mortgage defaulted, Diane. I bought it at auction. You have 1 hour to leave." Her face paled, the name, Diane, not Mom, hitting like a slap. Lauren stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Noah, stop this. We're family." I looked at her, years of hurt rising. "Family?" I said. Where was family when she threw me out with $200 and a suitcase? The room froze, my words cutting through their denial. I nodded to Officer Ramirez, who stepped inside, his badge glinting. "Ma'am," he said to Mom, "the notice was served. You need to vacate." Mom's eyes darted to him, then me, her composure cracking. "You can't do this," she hissed, her voice low. "This is my home." I met her gaze, unflinching. "Not anymore," I said. "You made it clear I wasn't welcome. Now it's your turn." The movers entered, polite but firm, starting to box up her things, designer bags, framed awards, the trappings of her empire. Visual cue, zoom on Mom's trembling hands, the movers stacking boxes, Lauren's tearful face as the reality sinks in. The confrontation escalated in the living room, where the family had gathered, their brunch plates abandoned. My uncle, a pompous realtor named Greg, tried to mediate. "Noah, let's talk this out," he said, his tone patronizing. "You're upset, we get it, but this is extreme." I laughed, bitter. "Extreme?" I said. "She called me a liability, Greg. She said I wasn't her son." What's extreme is building EcoNest from nothing while she bet against me. I pulled out my phone, showing them EcoNest's website, 5,000 subscribers, Whole Foods logo, a Forbes article naming me 30 under 30. Their jaws dropped, Mom's especially, her eyes flickering with something like regret. Lauren tried again, her voice soft. "No, we didn't know," she said, tears streaming. "Mom was wrong, okay? But it's too much." I softened for a second, remembering her kindness, but shook my head. "You stood by while she erased me," I said. "This isn't revenge, it's justice." Mom finally spoke, her voice hoarse. "You think this makes you better than me?" she said, stepping closer. "You're still the same failure, playing dress-up with my house." I stared at her, the old wound throbbing, but I didn't break. "I'm not your failure," I said. "I'm the guy who took your house because you couldn't keep it. Pack your bags." The eviction took 2 hours. Mom fought at first, demanding to call her lawyer, but Emma, my attorney, was ready, presenting the deed and auction records. Officer Ramirez stayed calm, ensuring the process was smooth. The family watched, stunned, as Mom's belongings were loaded into the van. Her Chanel purses, her art collection, her life dismantled. Lauren hugged her, whispering apologies, while Greg and the cousins slunk out, avoiding my eyes. Mom's final walk to her car was slow, her head high but her hands shaking. She didn't look at me, didn't say a word, just drove away, the gate closing behind her. Visual cue, a wide shot of Mom's car disappearing, Noah standing alone in the driveway, the mansion looming behind him. I didn't stay in the mansion that night. I walked through it, the marble cold under my feet, memories flooding back. Mom's laughter when I was a kid, my sketches scattered in my old room. It felt empty, not triumphant. I drove back to my Echo Park studio, the keys heavy in my pocket, and sat in the dark, the weight of what I'd done sinking in. I'd won, but the victory was hollow, a trophy built on pain. My phone buzzed, Lauren, begging to talk, and a voicemail from Carla, my mentor, saying, "I hope it was worth it." I didn't reply, not yet. I needed time to figure out what came next. The fallout was swift. Word spread through LA's elite, a gossip blog posting Brentwood bombshell, son evicts tycoon mom. EcoNest's subscriber base jumped to 7,000, the drama fueling sales, but it brought scrutiny, VCs questioned my stability, and a competitor tried to poach my Whole Foods deal. I leaned on Carla and Raj, my CPA, to stabilize the business, closing a $10 million retail expansion. My net worth hit $12 million, but the mansion sat empty, a $4.5 million reminder of a wound I couldn't close. I listed it for sale, uninterested in living there, and donated half the proceeds to a youth shelter, a nod to the kid I'd been, alone with $200. Mom reached out a month later, a letter, not a call. "I was wrong," she wrote, her handwriting shaky. "I pushed you away because I was scared of losing everything, of you seeing me fail." She'd moved to a condo, her empire gone, and was starting over. I read it, my throat tight, remembering Dr. Lee's words about proving behavior. I didn't forgive her, not fully, but I sent a reply. "I'm glad you're okay. Let's talk someday." It wasn't closure, but it was a crack in the wall, a step toward healing. Looking back, I learned 3 things. First, independence is your greatest asset. Build your own wealth, your own life, so no one can take it away. Second, pain can fuel you, but it can't define you. I turned Mom's rejection into EcoNest, but I had to let go of her voice to grow. Third, family isn't owed your loyalty. They earn it, and sometimes you have to walk away to find yourself. EcoNest is my legacy now, not her mansion, and I'm building it for me, not her approval. If you're watching this and you've been rejected, by family, by anyone, don't let it break you. Start small, like I did with $200 and a laptop, and keep going even when it's hard. Ask yourself, what's your mansion and how will you claim it? Drop your story in the comments. I want to hear how you fought back. My mom thought she could erase me, but I built an empire, and you can too. This is Noah, signing off from LA, where the hustle's real and the comeback sweeter.